We are the New York Knicks. 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 Say go New York, go New York, go. Go New York, go New York, go. Say go New York, go New York, go. Go New York, go New York, go.
Well, just like that, look who's back in the mix. Straight out of New York City, it's the red hot Knicks. And nothing's gonna stop us from hanging a banner. Not the Hawks, Heat, or even Indiana. It's the Knicks, back on pace, back in the chase. That's right, the 8th seed in the thick of the race. And while you try and react to the shots we be blocking, check out the team that keeps the Garden rocking. Spree, hitting threes, playing D. Houston launching jumps from the top of the key. And Ward, you and Child and Larry. Thomas, Big Chris, and Marcus can be. Nobody does it like the Knicks can. Go get your best 5 guys and back grab a 6-man. The Spreewell and the Knicks excel. Look out, the number 18 is starting to gel.
Go New York, go New York, go. Go New York, go New York, go. Say go New York, go New York, go. Go New York, go New York, go.
You want depth? Hold up, we're too deep. And Indiana, they're gonna end up with the Hawks and the Heat, while the Knicks sweep them with the broom. See, our season don't end till the middle of June. Don't ever count out the Knicks team, cause in a blink, your squad's down 16. So if you think you can beat us, you're just a dreamer. The Knicks, we don't lose in a home.
As my mic is muted. That's a great start. What's up, everyone? We're so back. We are so back. And it was only fitting that I had to start it off with that song, the one song that I played in the past that I haven't gotten copyright struck for. So I could play that one. Hopefully I won't get copy struck for that. But listen, it's great to be back. As the title says, this is the most anticipated Knicks season opener for a season in years. I'd venture as far to say that this goes back to the 1970s. It has been a significant amount of time since the Knicks had expectations like this. Hence why I say it's the biggest season opener in years. Because this is the first time, at least in the sports books, that the Knicks are a top 5 favorite to win the NBA championship. And this is real. This isn't like last year where, the Knicks got all these guys and they've got a mesh and form. They still had to deal with the Cavs. They still had to deal with the Celtics. They had to deal with all the teams in the West. This year is different, guys. It is. And I shouldn't have to sit here and tell you why. You understand why. You see who the Knicks have. You saw who they added in free agency. You understand that this has now been a year and this team has had time finally to gel. They've had a training camp together. They've had an entire offseason, practices, you name it. New head coach, I understand, and still a few moving parts, adding a couple of guys on the bench. So I get it. There's no guarantee this team is going to click right away. And I think that the other team on the other side of the table, the Cavs, have a lot more chemistry, and that the top 4 guys in that team, I think, have a lot more camaraderie than any guy on the Knicks combined. The Knicks' 2 best players have absolutely 0 2-man game. So there are a lot of questions to get into. I want to discuss the Cavs as well. This isn't only going to be about the Knicks, but I just want to get into my general sentiments going into this season. It's been a very long time since, and I'm just going to keep hammering this home. I am, because I want people to understand the significance of where we are right now. You look at every other New York team. The Yankees fell flat on their face. The Mets, disaster. Giants, Shane Bowen is a terrorist. The Jets, that's that. Speaking of disasters, that's even worse. The Nets, no one cares. But look at the state of New York sports. The savior is the New York Knicks. The entire city is behind the Knicks. And we've discussed this before, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that there are more Knicks fans in the city than any other team, even the Yankees. Because it's split. Yankees fans, Mets fans, you got Jets fans and Giants fans. Everyone is a Knicks fan. Everyone. So there are millions and millions of people in this city and the surrounding area whose hopes and dreams are dead set on one organization, and that's the Knicks, a team that made the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 25 years last year, a team that came within 2 games of making the NBA Finals. And they go out in the offseason, they fire their head coach, a very controversial move. Some people support it, some people hate it, depending on who you ask. but it's been 4 months. He's gone. Mike Brown takes over. He was just fired last year from the Kings, by the Kings. He ended the longest playoff drought in sports when the Kings made the playoffs a few years back. And that offense on that Kings team is clearly something that Leon Rose and the Knicks front office wants to replicate with this Knicks team. And bear with me, I'm a little rusty, all right? It's going to be a lot more Knicks content where this comes from. Mike Brown takes over, and the pressure has never been higher. The Knicks fired the head coach that brought them back from the dead, propelled them back into relevancy for the first time in almost 10 years. And he takes the Knicks to within 2 games of the NBA Finals. And he gets canned. Understanding that situation, you'll understand the type of pressure that the Knicks and Mike Brown are under right now. It's now or never. In this Eastern Conference, you know what the situation is with the Pacers. They lost Tyrese Halliburton in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Torn Achilles. Done for the year. Jason Tatum. In Game 4 against the Knicks, tears his Achilles. Probably out for the majority of the season, if not the entire season. So those are the 2 biggest foes for the Knicks. Or 2 of the 3 biggest foes for the Knicks going into this year. Both without their star players. And that leaves the Cleveland Cavaliers, a team in which the Knicks were 0-4 against last year, and the team in which they match up with against tonight to start the season. And it's the one team on paper. Of course, you look at a team like Atlanta, Orlando, maybe Detroit. Those teams could take a step forward, but in terms of teams that have the talent, that have the camaraderie, it's the Cavs and it's the Knicks. So this is a real test to start the season. Of course, the Knicks are going to be without Mitchell Robinson. They're going to be without Josh Hart. And there were a few rumors out there that Karl-Anthony Towns wasn't going to play. He was downgraded to doubtful. Then Stephon Bondi says he's going to play. I don't know what to make of this entire situation. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this where there have been so many differentiations between one report to the other. You got Shams saying that Cat's not going to play, and it makes no sense. It makes zero sense. As of right now, the latest information and news that we have is that Karl-Anthony Towns and all of a sudden OG Anunoby, both those guys are game time decisions. So the Knicks already at this point of the year are facing injuries. And I don't want to harken on this for too long here. I could sit here and discuss this for the next 30 minutes about the lack of transparency within the Knicks organization, with the fans, with the media, and not sharing what's going on with their injuries. We heard the entire offseason, Mitchell Robinson looks good. He's not hurt. And then all of a sudden, last week, you hear from Mike Brown that Mitchell Robinson might miss the first game of the season because of load management? Load management. Hasn't played a single game yet in the season, and we're already load managing him? We are not idiots. We are not stupid. Clearly, he's had some sort of setback with the ankle, with the foot. Who knows? And he is missing tonight's game. And Shams says Mitchell Robinson might be out a significant amount of time to start the season. He didn't use the word significant, but he did imply that it could be a long period of time. Where did this come from? Where did this come from? There was no news that Mitchell Robinson had a setback. And I do understand the competitive part of it. You don't want to let your opponent know your next move, right? You don't want to give, you don't want to make the game plan easier for the opposing team. Like the Knicks didn't want the Cavs to know that Mitchell Robinson was going to miss tonight. I think everyone knew that Josh Hart was going to miss tonight with his back issue. But I get that part of it. But be honest with us. This Knicks organization doesn't just withhold information about injuries. They withhold information about everything. They don't grant interviews. The GM hasn't spoken in almost 5 years. This is who the organization is. And it's infuriating. And again, I don't want to sit here and talk about that for the remainder of this time. We're focusing on tonight. We're focusing on, as the title says, the most important Knicks game. The biggest opening game of the season in 30 plus years. It's not hyperbole. So the Knicks not only hired Mike Brown after firing Tom Thibodeau, but they had two solid bench pieces. They signed Gershon Yabusele, who played for the Sixers last year, was overseas for a few years, plays for France, dunks on LeBron, had a really good Olympics in 2024 for France. The Sixers saw that. They signed him. He has a really good year, almost shoots 40% from three, really efficient from the floor. Saw a lot of playing time, got a lot of run because of Joel Embiid and his constant injury troubles. So Gershon Yabusele proved himself to be a solid rotational piece for the Sixers. And then again, when Joel Embiid got hurt, he played a significant amount of time throughout the season. Knicks signed him to the mid-level exception, around $6 million a year. And then as for their other big move, they signed Jordan Clarkson to the veterans minimum. Everyone knows it's pretty easy to tell that no other team wanted him. So you're just going to take a veterans minimum, and I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining at all. It has been a very long time since players are willing to come to the Knicks to chase a ring. Last time I could remember was Jason Kidd in 2012, 2013. It's been a long time coming. The majority of my life, no one has ever done that. So I'm not complaining. And both of those guys provide you with stuff the Knicks have desperately needed. Gershon Yabusele, an efficient, face-up, power forward, could play the stretch five, can shoot from three, and overall is just a big body in the paint. He's not a great rebounder. He's kind of short. He's 6'8", like 285. But he's a big body. And he could give the Knicks spacing when Karl-Anthony Towns comes off the court. He could play right alongside Mitchell Robinson. And you wouldn't have to sacrifice spacing by taking Karl-Anthony Towns out. Of course, Gershon Yabusele is no Karl-Anthony Towns. I think it's agreed league-wide that Karl-Anthony Towns is the best three-point shooting big man ever. So no one's going to be able to replace that. But Gershon Yabusele, very important addition. I'm really looking forward to that. I think he could be a massive X factor on this team. And the other guy, Jordan Clarkson, someone who has been wildly inefficient over his time with the Jazz over the last few years. He shot 40% from the field last year. If you remember earlier on last season, the Knicks played the Jazz, or the Jazz came to the Garden, and I've never heard Mike Breen be more critical of any player than he was of Jordan Clarkson that night, taking terrible shot after terrible shot after terrible shot. He's never met a shot that he doesn't like. And I can't see that not continuing here with the Knicks. Just, he's got to learn how to tame that. And listen, if you want to play big minutes for this Knicks team, you've got to be efficient offensively. The Knicks have lacked a volume scorer, specifically off the bench. They had it with Dante DiVincenzo. They traded Dante DiVincenzo away. They did not have a volume scorer off the bench. It wasn't Deuce McBride. He couldn't do that. Landry Shamet didn't get any run. What are the guys the Knicks have on that bench? You know, even in their starting lineup, they don't really have many volume scorers. So I think it's important that they acquired a guy like Jordan Clarkson. It's a low risk, high reward. It's not like you paid him $10+ million and you feel the need to play him big minutes. If he sucks, he will be pulled by Mike Brown. He will be reprimanded. And if he continues with that, he keeps that up, he won't be on the Knicks by the trade deadline. So it's low risk, high reward with Jordan Clarkson. And again, it's something the Knicks desperately need. Volume score. And the Knicks brought back Landry Shamet. They had Malcolm Brogdon for like a month, then he retired. Whatever happened there. And they've got a bunch of guys at the bottom of the roster. But there are a few guys here this season that could really take a step up. And one of those guys, and please update me if their starting lineups come out, because I'm on here, and if I open up anything on this computer, it will blow up. So if you see anything about the starting lineup, any injury news, please drop it in the comments and I'll react to it live here. But you'd assume that with Mitchell Robinson out and with Mitchell Robinson slotted in to start for this team, that Ariel Hukporti will get the start tonight. And again, I have no idea. Could be Gershon Yabusele next to Cat. I think the Knicks have high hopes in Ariel Hukporti. He's shown the ability to be a playmaker, which is extremely sought after in the NBA from a big man. You saw it from Isaiah Hartenstein. You saw how badly the Knicks wanted to keep him. I'm not saying that Ariel Hukporti is an Isaiah Hartenstein. They play pretty similarly. Ariel Hukporti might be their best screen and roller. Mitch first. Hukporti might be second. He's better than Karl-Anthony Towns. So there is an amazing opportunity for Ariel Hukporti to take a step up this season. He will get a lot of run, especially in a game like tonight, in which Mitchell Robinson will be out. So again, I say it a million times. Let me know. I don't know the starting lineups. I could try to keep an eye on my phone, but I'd much more prefer if you guys can give me that on here. So I think that, all those intangibles aside, the Knicks additions, Mike Brown being here, Ariel Hukporti potentially slotting into this starting lineup tonight. I wanted to touch on something. And it's something that if you watched me last year, if you tuned in at all during the playoffs, you know exactly where this is going. You know what? I don't usually do this soon in, but my boy Joe Gruber, what's up? Welcome back. What's up, dude? Yeah, nothing negative. This team is championship bound. Listen, come on. We're not doing this. We're not doing this. Knock on wood, all right? This team is really good. They've got top 5 title odds on the sports books for a reason. They're in an extremely weak Eastern Conference. If you want to get into the matchup, let's do it. The Knicks versus the Cavs. The last time I checked, the Cavs were favored by 1 point. The Knicks are missing their biggest X factor in this matchup. Look back to the 2023 playoffs, the first round, Knicks Cavs. Who was the MVP of that series? It wasn't Jalen Brunson. It was Mitchell Robinson. Yes, Evan Mobley has bulked up. He's the reigning defensive player of the year. Neither one of those guys could still be able to stop Mitchell Robinson on the offensive glass. And the Knicks don't have Mitch playing tonight. So it becomes a much more difficult matchup for the Knicks. The Cavs, offensively, last year, one of the best offensive teams in NBA history. Not hyperbole. They averaged 100, or I guess they didn't average 100. Yeah, they did. They averaged just 122 points per game. 122 points per game. I understand the pace is up in the NBA over the last few years. That's still extremely impressive. Number 1 in the NBA. The best offensive rating in the NBA as well. And there are no slouches of the defensive end as well. 8th in the NBA defensive rating. This team doesn't play with a lot of pace. They do above league average. They were 10th in the NBA in pace. But what they are able to do is move the ball extremely well. And they've established a really good pick and roll game with Donovan Mitchell as the primary ball handler. And he's kind of taken over the role as the point guard, the primary ball handler. The Cavs are going to be without Darius Garland tonight, which is a big absence for them. Max Strus is out for the first few months of the season. But you look at the Cavs, they've made some great additions. They brought in Lonzo Ball, who, of course, is coming off an injury in which forced him to miss almost 3 years. I believe it was 3 full years. He returned last year for the Bulls. They traded him to the Cavs. And even last year, in a small sample size for Lonzo Ball, he's still a force to be reckoned with on the defensive end. He averaged 1.3 steals per game and only, I think it was 20 plus minutes per game. That's really impressive. Lonzo Ball is still recovering. He was rusty last year. He shot 27% from the field. So you don't really have to worry about him on the offensive end. The Cavs also added Larry Nance Jr., former Cav. He comes back home. He shot 45% from three last year. And in a very small sample size. I believe he only played in 24 games, so I digress. And they also brought in Thomas Bryant, who it will be a solid backup big option for them, and Kenny Atkinson. So on paper, these two teams, the two best teams in the Eastern Conference. In my opinion, they're the only two teams who have a chance to win the NBA Finals. And I'm not saying they're the only two teams who have a chance to make the finals. Listen, Atlanta could have a good year. Orlando could have a good year. You can't sleep on Detroit. Do I think it's likely that any of those teams make the finals? No. But they could. Injuries could happen. But this Eastern Conference is wide open. And the Cavs and the Knicks are right on top of it. And this is a test for the Knicks. It is. We saw what happened last year against the Celtics. Ring night in Boston. They were 1-3 away from setting the NBA record for most threes hit in a game. The Knicks got completely blown out. They got ran out of the gym. So this year they look to flip the switch, because I think I speak for the majority of Knicks fans. We remember that. We remember what happened last year. We remembered how poorly the Knicks played defensively, specifically against the three-point shot. And this wasn't just a first couple of months of the season thing last year. This extended deep into the season and even into the playoffs. They got lucky. I mean, let me be honest. The Knicks got lucky that Boston missed all of those three-pointers in games 1 and 2. They are lucky that Boston got complacent and continued to chuck up threes when they clearly weren't falling. Was that the Knicks' fault? No, that was on Boston. But the Knicks were not great at defending the three throughout the playoffs. And that's one thing I'm looking forward to seeing if Mike Brown, as the head coach of the Knicks, can finally have them working cohesively on the defensive end to get out on three-point shooters. I would really love to see that. Another thing that again, if you've been listening to me, you understand exactly where I'm going right now. Josh Hart's out of this game. Oh, it sucks so bad. I'm like Josh Hart's. I'm not a hater of Josh Hart, but I'm just I think his negatives outweigh the positives with how much they're negative, if that makes any sense. When he's not hitting threes, he's a non-factor on the offensive end. With what the Knicks are specifically trying to do, and they signaled exactly that when they traded for Karl-Anthony Towns, I will continue to hammer this point home. They wanted to adopt a 5-out offense. They saw what the Celtics did the year before. Celtics won the championship. How did they do that, you might ask? Because of their spacing. Because Porzingis was their big. And the Knicks go out, they trade for Cat. And you think like, okay, that's what we're doing. Tom Thibodeau goes out and insists on playing Josh Hart 37, 38 minutes per game. And what does Josh Hart provide you on the offensive end? Jack shit when he's not shooting well. And when he's not pushing the ball in transition or when that's not needed. But the Knicks trying to increase their pace under Mike Brown, he will be needed. His rebounding is massive. His ability to finish in transition is massive. He's not a good defender. Like, let's call a spade a spade. There was this notion that he was a solid defender. He's not. He's 6'4", and he played power forward last year. Not a good defender. But we saw time and time and time again, Josh Hart trotted out with that starting lineup that, when it mattered the most, completely fell flat on its face. And what did the analytics show us? Deuce McBride subbed in for Josh Hart, completely changed everything for that line. And I think tonight we are going to get blessed by this. I think we are going to see Deuce McBride in the starting lineup, either him or Huck Porty. Again, I have no idea. Please, someone, if you see the starting lineup, it's got to be out by this point. All right. What are we doing here? Someone, please, anyone. I'm excited to watch Deuce McBride because now Mike Brown doesn't have a choice. Mitch is out. Deuce has got to start. All right. I'm going to acknowledge it because this is, this is fair. I'm going to turn this off after Jalen. Josh Hart has built the identity of this team. Maybe he shouldn't play as much as he did last year, but yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing with this. I think he could be one of the most impactful role players in the NBA on more limited minutes. The guy cannot play 35, 40 minutes a game. That was basketball malpractice. It made no sense, specifically with what the Knicks were trying to do on the offensive end. And defensively, is he a non-factor? No. But is he a good defender? No, he's not. So that made no sense to play him all those minutes. He's a spark plug. He's someone that pushes the pace. He's someone that brings the energy. How can he bring the energy if he's on the court the entire game? If he comes in with 6 minutes to go in the first quarter, guess who's going to push the pace? Guess who's going to get that bench unit moving? It's going to be Josh Hart. And you know what? If he's having a good game and the spacing isn't necessarily needed in a specific game, he can finish the game. I'm totally cool with that. I just was furious watching Tom Thibodeau trot out Josh Hart time in and time out when the Knicks needed space. Because it made the job of the opposing coach just so much easier. They tell the center, all right, you play Josh Hart. You could hedge 10 feet off him and roam the paint if you'd like. Josh Hart's out. The Knicks obviously need him if they want to go far in the playoffs. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that Josh Hart is an insignificant piece of this team. He's not. He could be very important. He can also be the team's Achilles heel when he plays too much and he's played incorrectly. So I look at Deuce McBride tonight. I see someone who is a much better point of attack defender than Josh Hart. I see someone who opposing teams need to respect from three. You see Deuce McBride catch the ball wide open, someone is going to close out as hard as they can. But opposing team sees Josh Hart wide open in the three-point line, they'll take a few steps out, try to influence the shot, but they're not going to be busting and holding their ass to try to defend Josh Hart from three. And again, it's a very small sample size, what we saw last year. But Deuce McBride, in that starting lineup, with the starters, it's the best lineup the Knicks had last year. By far best offensive rating, by far best defensive rating, net rating by default. And that's something that I'm looking forward to seeing tonight. But the Knicks open up their season. Expectations could not be higher. I guess I'll spend the rest of the time just talking about these expectations and talking about, how long it's been. This Knicks team on paper is the best Knicks team since the 1970s. Everyone wants to say, oh, the 90s team. John Starks was their number 2 option offensively. Like, come on. This team is miles better than that Knicks team. I understand there's more talent in the NBA, but this Knicks team has a lot of it. We know what to expect from Jalen Brunson. I believe that's the first time in this entire live stream that I've mentioned the name Jalen Brunson, which is absurd. I just did 30 minutes of Knicks talk and didn't mention Jalen Brunson. We know what Jalen Brunson is going to provide. We know how fortunate the Knicks are that they have a guy, and there's only a select few in the NBA, where if everything goes to shit, you could throw him the ball and clear out of his way. Jalen Brunson is one of those guys. His ability to score the ball at his size is unmatched in NBA history. Straight up. His ability to use his footwork, to use his balance in order to create space against much taller defenders is unmatched in NBA history. The Knicks possess that. They have that. They've also got Mikal Bridges, the guy that is going to prevent the Knicks from getting Giannis Antetokounmpo, but that's a different story for another day. Mikal Bridges, who, if you missed it, signed an extension with the Knicks, took about a $6 million pay cut. Also, if the quality of this video sucks, just let me know. I'm seeing the Wi-Fi signal go off and on. This is classic StreamYard, how much money I pay for it a month. But I just, I think that Mikal Bridges can provide you a lot more than he did last year. Terrible from three. Terrible. We saw it before the season, in the preseason. He had that hitch. And I think people were perfect. Thanks, Joe. People were rightfully concerned with that. And it translated to the regular season. And then it translated to the playoffs. It seems like, all right, here we go. Thank you, Andy. Okay, here we go. Andy Nardone. What's up, Andy? My guy. Anunoby, Huckporty, Towns, Brunson. They just won't do it. They won't put Deuce McBride in the starting lineup. What a disaster. I'm just kidding. It is what it is. I mean, like, I'm pissed, like, actually, but like, it's a good opportunity for Huckporty. And you can't have Karl-Anthony Towns at the 5 in this game against Allen and Mobley. So I get it. I understand. We're going to see it at some point. Deuce McBride will be in the starting lineup at some point. I'm not concerned. Thanks, Andy, for that. So apparently, according to that, Towns will play, Anunoby will play. You love to see it. And hey, man, like, we're here. We're here. I just want to preface my final thoughts with this. Don't put too much stock into the end result of this game. As I said, the Knicks don't have their most important player in a matchup with the Cavs, in Mitchell Robinson. There's a reason why the Knicks are starting Ariel Huckporty. Need the size. The Cavs are one of the biggest teams in the NBA. They have 2 undersized guards, but they make up for it, with their front court, with Hunter and Mobley and Allen. They have 2 elite paint protectors on that team. And you'll see tonight the Knicks work outside to in. And that's what a 5-out offense is supposed to be like. Spacing is good here. Of course, you got Huckporty. He doesn't shoot threes, but it's fine. It's better than having Josh Hart at the court. So then you just got a guy on the wing who's doing nothing. At least Huckporty could stay in the paint and actually rebound. And the opposing center can't roam because they have to watch Huckporty. Don't put too much stock into the result of this game. Just don't. The Knicks may lose by 20. And I can't believe I'm the one saying this, but I'm one to admit when I'm wrong. The Knicks went 0 for 10 against the 3 teams, in my opinion, and other people's opinions, that had a chance to win a championship last year. The Thunder, the Cavs, and the Celtics. So the Knicks went 0 4 against the Cavs in the regular season last year. And I was dying on the hill of the Knicks have no chance to advance past the second round because they will have to play Boston or they're going to have to play Cleveland. And what have we seen? They haven't beat either one of those teams in the regular season. Why are they going to beat them in the playoffs? So that's why I say this. Again, with Mitch not playing and with what we saw last year, relax. It's coming for me, all right? Like, that's saying something. Mr. Overreaction, Mr. Negative. Relax. Mike Brown just took over as head coach. There are a lot of moving parts. You heard Karl-Anthony Towns the other day. Slightly concerning. I'm going to be honest about that. When I read that quote, I don't know what my role is going to be in the offense. I, of course, got a little concerned. But that remains to be seen whether that's like an actual thing we need to watch for or whether it's like legitimately, we'll see as the season goes on and hasn't been defined yet. In that case, fine. And the other circumstance, the Knicks might be screwed. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Cavs offensively are one of the best teams in the NBA. Last year, they were amazing. They do everything right on the offensive end. And they have Donovan Mitchell, one of the best scorers in the NBA, one of the most dynamic playmaking scorers in the NBA. I went through the entire, I can't believe I haven't even mentioned the name OG Anunoby too. Like, I just mentioned all those guys who are very important. The most important player besides Mitch in a potential series here against the Cavs is OG Anunoby. He's the true X factor in a lot of these games. When Jalen Brunson went out with his injury last year, OG Anunoby showed an offensive side that a lot of us haven't seen. There was some of that before his injury in February, when right after the Knicks traded for him. He had that game against the Heat, and then his elbow injury became an issue, and then he didn't play for 3 weeks, whatever the hell it was. But before that point, he showed something offensively. And then we hadn't seen it until Jalen Brunson went down. And he was the next most consistent scorer and their best player. OG Anunoby might be a top 3 two-way player in the NBA. He's going to be entrusted with some of the most difficult matchups possible. That's why you went out and traded for him. And I'd like to see more from Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby together. We saw it a lot against Boston, switchability between the two of them. One would guard Tatum, the other would guard Brown. Mikal Bridges is kind of a twig and got back down with both those guys a lot, but the help was always there. I digress. But the Knicks said it last year going into the season, how excited we were about the defense, how excited we were about Anunoby and Bridges in the same lineup. This year, I'm excited about the offense. That's what I'm looking for. Yes, defense wins championships. The defense isn't what's going to propel the Knicks into the NBA Finals. It's the offense. Because last year, we saw, quite frankly, a complete lack of cohesion, specifically amongst the Knicks' 2 best players, 2 of the top 15 offensive players in the NBA. And they had no 2-man game. None. And so the Knicks couldn't exploit some easy mismatches that they could have generated from employing a 2-man game between the 2 of them, Brunson and Cat. If the Knicks established that earlier on in the season, watch out. Watch out. The Knicks might be a threat to get the 1 seed. As of right now, I think the Knicks can get the 2 seed. The Cavs, last year, they were amazing in the regular season. They're going to have, 8 less important games, playing the Pacers and the Celtics. So will the Knicks. But all these teams in the Eastern Conference are not going to have to worry as much because they won't have to play a fully loaded Pacers team and a fully loaded Celtics team. And the Cavs were amazing last year in the regular season. Amazing. Defensive player of the year in Mobley, a couple All-NBA guys, 3 All-Stars. One of the best teams in the league. And there is a major opportunity here for the Knicks to make a statement. And again, don't live and die with this result. Don't do it. It's coming for me. You better believe it. Mitch Robinson's out. All right. And you could say, Darius Garland's out as well. Max Strus is out. No one has the potential impact of Mitchell Robinson on both teams. Donovan Mitchell, of course. Not even Evan Mobley. So take the result with a grain of salt. Don't lose your mind, because I won't be doing that. But here we are, guys. This is what we've waited 4 months for. Knicks basketball. And this is it, guys. It's the Knicks' best opportunity to win a championship since Michael Jordan's retirement in 1993. Finally, things have opened up. The Knicks proved themselves to some extent last year. But then they fired the coach that brought them there. Now they've got a new one. The expectations are even higher than they were last year. Make the finals, win the finals, bring a championship back to New York for the first time in 52 years. Let's hope this is the start of something special, guys. I want to be able to look back on this and say, this is where I was when the Knicks season opened. And this is where I'm going right now. It's the Knicks parade. I'm stoked. I'm really excited. But with high expectations comes a high likelihood of disappointment. I'm going to try to stay grounded throughout the season. Not used to, the Yankees, high expectations, but they do the same thing every year. This is a different story. This team has the chance to be the New York sports savior. Hopefully all these terrible teams, the Jets, the Giants, the Yankees, have sacrificed all this negative stuff for the betterment of the Knicks. Let's pray for that. All right. That'll do it. I'm going to do about like 20, 30 minutes after the game, do a little post game. I think I record my Giants podcast with Sean Morris, One Giant Step. Check that out where you ever get your podcast. So I will be with you after this game. I'm very excited. Again, I am not going to lose my mind over the result. My prediction, I think the Cavs win this game by 4 points. And, don't call me a hater. Mitchell Robinson's massive. Their size, too important. Ariel Laporte, unproven. And let's see how the lineup with Deuce in there goes. But I'm so excited. We're a few minutes away. Let's do it. Let's go Knicks. I will talk to you all in a few hours.